And a good morning to you all, and welcome to the starting lineup. Delighted to have you with us on an absolutely beautiful Wednesday in the Ozarks. Ned Reynolds joined by
Scott Purrier.
Art Haynes will be with us a little bit later on, and for the next 2 hours, we are right here talking sports and whatever. I'd like to hear from you at 417, the area code obviously, 447-1021, 447-1021. Both the phone line and the text line, they're both the same. And you choose your option. Either talk to us on the air or text us. Like to hear from you. Starting lineups brought to you by Play It Again Sports, Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont, Springfield. Matter of fact, Scott, we're going to have a special guest in here today.
We are. Yeah, Jeff Sayer's going to join us at 8:30. Talk about their great sales they've got going on this week. Goes through Sunday.
And it is a big-time sale, especially on baseball, but everything is right there at Play It Again Sports. Swing Right Golf, which is at the south end of Campbell Avenue, a little bit north of Nixa, and get that golf swing honed perfectly for the tournaments on the agenda. Citizens Bank of Rogersville with two routes. One of the routes is right adjacent to Highland Springs, and the other is in Rogersville itself. And Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, couple of left turns, and you're right there at Marshfield Chevrolet. Big night, kind of a record-setting night in sports in a lot of respects. But fire away, and what do we have? First of all, what's the guest list?
Yeah, our lineup today is at 7:30. There's a new Evangel soccer coach. His name is Samuel Winning. We're going to find out if that is actually his real name or his stage name for coaching. But, if your last name's Winning, you probably ought to continue winning. But anyway, he's going to join us. He's a native of Scotland, so I'm sure we'll get into some World Cup thoughts with him as well. 8 o'clock, Terry Allen, TA, the former Missouri State football coach, will be part of our Ozarks Legends series. Of course, Terry spent time at Northern Iowa where he had a phenomenal run there, and Coach Kurt Warner back in the day, and then went to Kansas and spent 9 seasons at Missouri State to finish up his coaching career, and then went into the replay world, didn't he, of Big 12, and wasn't he kind of like the supervisor of replay? Or
he had to make a trip from Iowa to Dallas every Saturday because that's where they had their headquarters, and he would review plays and offer consultation and so forth.
I didn't much like him, and I'm sure he didn't like me either back in the 90s when he was at Northern Iowa, because he was cocky as a coach.
No, he wasn't cocky. He was out and out.
Yeah.
Rash.
They won like 6 Gateway Conference titles in a row. He was Coach of the Year 5 times there. And I always remember a Bears game up there where both of them were really good, and the Bears break a long touchdown run in the Unidome, and it started about midfield, and it was called back by a flag, and Terry Allen standing over a flag doing a wave them back, bring them back. Remember that?
That memory sticks out in my mind. Haynes and I were calling the game. I said, look at Allen down there waving them back. You come on, buddy. But he did do something that I really felt was significant too. Brought Northern Iowa down here, and the Bears had them upset.
Yeah.
The game is won. Northern Iowa tries a long desperation pass at the end of the game. Interference is called on the Bears. 15-yard penalty puts Northern Iowa with virtually no time remaining in field goal position. They kick a field goal, win it by 1 or 2 points, I've forgotten. Terry came up into the press box at Plaster Sports Complex and said, guys, the way it goes, sorry. I thought that was genuinely significant on his part.
Yeah, a good guy, and the more you got to know him, a fun guy. And really wanted to reach out to him because I know he's going to have opinions on the state of college football and college sports today with NIL and the portal and things like that.
What time is he on?
8 o'clock. Terry Allen going to join us top of the hour. Saved him for the second hour because I know Art's going to want to talk to him as well. And then 8:30, Jeff Sayers, our friend at Play It Again Sports, the part of the Jeff and Jeff duo there, been doing it for more than 30 years, will be joining us to talk about their great week of sales that finishes up on Sunday. And they've got a little ice cream social with Highland Dairy in the house on Saturday. So we'll talk to Sal about that. Wanted to start the show, and we didn't mention this yesterday, and news kind of filtered out, but we lost one of our good friends and sports fans in the Ozarks. Phil Wilkins passed away, and I was just thinking back, and I told I was his Medicare agent, and he and his wife, and and was talking to his daughter, and I just, that he got to come to our June Ozarks Old Timers Luncheon and see everybody one last time. And, you've known him forever. You and Art longer than I have. And I got to know him during my initial days covering Evangel, because he was kind of Mr. Evangel fan to me. But it was just kind of nice and fitting that he got to go to one of those, because that's kind of who we designed those luncheons after. We're guys like Phil Wilkins and former coaches, and that just, get out and get around their friends and talk sports, and that's what he loved to do.
And it's very informal as well. Dr. Jerome, who is on the, I guess, quasi on the staff at Schweitzer, brought him along, had made a friendship with Phil, who wasn't. Phil was a friend of everybody's, and was a constant correspondent in a sense for us, but he loved to talk about sports. Now, he was Evangel, he went to Evangel, but he concentrated and went to all the games.
He did.
Everything.
And high school and everything else. But I think I told the story that, I was right out of college and went over there and didn't know anybody at Evangel. And I think Phil walked up to me the first time I walked in the gym and introduced himself and welcomed me. And, it's hard to find a better human being. And I'll tell you the thing with, he had a lot of health issues here in the last few years. His attitude throughout the whole thing, you couldn't tell anything was wrong. And I wish I could be like that. I wake up and I'm in a bad mood. Of course, I got to come in here and sit with you for 2 hours in the morning, 5 days a week. That would put anybody in a mood. But I think if we could all be like Phil Wilkins, it'd be a better place.
Yeah, you bring up a very interesting point. In talking with him on that Old Timers Luncheon, he was obviously ill, and he had to be feeling poorly, but oh my, he was upbeat, talked about the Royals. They'd been on a rally at the time, talked about the Cardinals, the current football scene. He just loved it. He loved to be a part of that athletic scene, and I think sold insurance, did he not?
Yeah, he did. He had a great insurance business, which I always felt kind of intimidated when I was new to it, and I'm selling him, Medicare products, and I'm like, what do you think, Phil? Is this going to do it for you? And you know what? Never a question, never a complaint. Just an all-around great guy. And I think the visitation is Friday, late afternoon, evening, and then the services on Saturday. I believe at Schweitzer in both cases as well. But, that Phil Wilkins, he will be missed. And I know the Evangel folks, it's a sad week over there, whoever's left on campus right now, because, I know how he was very close with Steve Jenkins and his family and the football staffs and everything, and Dr. David Stair, during that time. Mm-hmm. So anyway, but I wanted to pass that along. Starting five. By the way, today is the first day with no World Cup soccer matches since June 11th. That seems hard to believe.
Yeah, on the schedule. We had World Cup matches yesterday.
Yeah, but none today. Yeah, nothing. No soccer to watch for the soccer fans out there. But
and the reason for that is yesterday was the end of the round of 16, and now they're into the quarterfinals. So to get everything all set, and they have matches, I think, Scott, one per day from here on in.
Well, they've got one Thursday, one Friday, two Saturday.
There are two Saturday?
There are two on Saturday, yeah, and including one in Kansas City. But your final 8 teams are set for the quarterfinals. Those pairings, Thursday, France versus Morocco. Friday, Spain versus Belgium. Saturday, Norway versus England, and Argentina versus Switzerland. That last one's in Kansas City at what we like to call Arrowhead Stadium, but they won't. Kansas City Stadium. But yeah, a couple of really, really good matches yesterday. Argentina and Messi, they rally for a 3-2 win over Egypt. 3 goals in the final 15 minutes, including the game winner in the 92nd minute of stoppage play.
Not without controversy, because the Egyptians had a third goal taken away from them by a review that took about 5 to 10 minutes to go over. And then when it went against Egypt, Egyptian coach, corruption, let's have FIFA, get him out of here, and all this sort of thing.
He was walking like an Egyptian at that point. But, Argentina was down 2-0 in the 67th minute.
And folks were crying for them, too.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the latest in World Cup history a team has come back and won from a 2-0 deficit without the need for extra time. So pretty phenomenal. Messi did have the goal to tie it.
Header.
and then they get the goal in the 92nd minute to go in 3-2 and advance as the defending champions. So, and then the nightcap. I tweeted this out. I'm actually guilty of this. That I'm checking scores on apps. I usually go to the ESPN app to see what's going on out there, and I saw that Switzerland and Colombia were headed to penalty kicks. I scramble out of the room to go get the remote control and turn it on. Did not have it on until then because I'm that U.S. soccer fan that doesn't really get into the 90 minutes and then the extra 30 minutes. When they get to penalty kicks, so I want to see the drama, and there was definitely drama with that.
And Switzerland won it.
Yeah.
4-3.
Did you see the penalty kick rounds?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I felt so bad for the one guy I think he was for Colombia, that had missed his kick. Maybe it was Switzerland. Had missed his kick. Yeah, it was Switzerland. Missed his kick in 2022 in penalty kicks. He was the only guy to miss then. And by gosh, he gets up there and he sails it about 10 feet over the top of the goal. Yeah.
Yes.
And really, in that situation, the only thing you don't want to be is high, because anything low still has a chance of getting into the box there and into the goal. But he sailed it over there, and you could just see on his face, like, oh, no, not again, and running back there. But I think they bailed him out. But, yeah, 2 good matches yesterday, no matches today, and we are into the quarterfinal round of 8. Just for fun, I went to see what the FIFA rankings were of the teams coming in. And you look at the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4 are all in the final 8. That's France, Argentina, Spain, and England. Brazil was the 5th-ranked team. They're out. Morocco was the 6th-ranked team. They're in. Portugal was the 7th-ranked team. They're out. Belgium 8 in. Netherlands out at number 9, and Mexico out at number 10. The highest-ranked team still left in this, Norway, is 19th, and Switzerland 14th. So there's your, we talked a lot yesterday in the aftermath of the 4-1 loss to Belgium, and how the USA was challenged with big boy soccer in the round of 16 and didn't respond. Well, you look at those rankings and who's left in the final 8, and it's truly big boy soccer.
It is. These are world powers. The one who might be the anomaly here, the outlier, is Switzerland. They're good. They're a very, very good soccer team. But I don't think they really rank or had in the past ranked among the world powers. But all the others have, and they're all good teams, every one of them. And
all of them but Norway were ranked ahead of the USA. Mm-hmm. USA was 16th coming in, so Norway at 19 is the outlier there. So, yeah, World Cup, we're in the final 8. Again, it should be fun even without the USA there to see who comes out on top. You've got stars upon stars that are left and continuing to play, and so that'll by the way, I think it was 40 million was the final count on how many watched Monday night's matchup between USA and Belgium. That's phenomenal. It'll be interesting to see what the viewership's like in the U.S. now in the remaining games, because with them out of there, I think your soccer fans will still tune in. I think, it's fortunate that it's at a very dead time of the sports season, so there's not a lot of options out there. Well, in a sense it is, but Major League Baseball also has, Major League Baseball has a lot of adjunct activities going on, the draft, and then the All-Star weekend is coming up, and the All-Star game itself, which is next Tuesday. But the fact of the matter remains, I think the ratings will come down. How significantly? It's still, Scott, it still has not captured, I think, when the USA is in there, yes, the public imagination is there. Of course, you're rooting for this country. But after that, I don't think it's an overall universal gripping of the sports public like pro football or baseball. In our country, yeah. I'm talking about USA. Yeah, I think the World Cup is much like the Super Bowl. In terms of the Super Bowl, you get people that watch the game that couldn't tell you a first down from a pass interference, because it's the Super Bowl and it's a time to get together with friends and eat and drink and be merry. I think that's what the Team USA matches were becoming with this, is that it was a chance to hook up with friends and bring over your appetizers and put the beverages on ice and watch something together. And that is because there is a common goal, and that is you have your identification team, and there you assume that almost all of them are for the USA. Now, in football, a little bit different, because you're going to have
variances in identification and so forth and so on. But nonetheless, that's a pretty good comparison nonetheless. Yes, it is an international Super Bowl.
We got lots of baseball to get to, but let's take our break and come back and do all of our baseball in the next segment.
Timeout on this starting lineup, and we'll be right back. And we welcome you back. We're into the starting five. Continue.
Yeah, and wanted to clarify, and now we're talking in the break and ran out of time, but I just learned this yesterday that if you're going to listen to the Cardinals on the station, it has to be through your radio. Apparently, our rights do not include streaming, so I was away from a radio. Was actually listening through an Alexa device, and I had the Visa network programming yesterday afternoon instead of the Cardinal game. And same thing on the app. If you're listening to us through the app and you want the Cardinal game, you got to go find a radio.
There is another little adjunct to that. And I had my TV on yesterday afternoon thinking on the MLB network, since this is virtually the only game going, they're going to have that on there. Au contraire. There's a lot of discussion, and, they have your mind, your opinion, and all that sort of thing. Hey, the game's on. Cut away to it. Well, evidently they can't under these new rules that you have, even though it was the MLB network and MLB owns the games.
Yeah.
I'm stunned by that.
And I think, and Brian Tyndall, our GM, he and I were texting about it yesterday afternoon. He explained it very well that streaming rights are an entirely different world with MLB because they want you listening through the MLB app to any games, in terms of streaming. Now, if it's a radio station locally, yes, you're going to hear them on the radio station, but technically they want you listening to their app to catch a game on the radio.
They're going to screw this thing up completely.
Yeah.
And they may already have.
I just think that it's kind of everything has moved to streaming, that it's one of these things that we just have to adapt, and you may not like it. I don't like it, but I kind of want to be able to just tune on anywhere and listen to what I want to listen to, and that wasn't the case.
Go to your remote control and hit your favorite channel, whatever it is, and the game's going to be, no, the game isn't there. It's someplace else that you've got to go to, and frequently it is a pay-per-view channel that you can't get unless you subscribe to it. Yes, I guess the money is there, but no, the public identification is not, and I don't think it's a good thing at all.
Cardinals had the doubleheader with the Brewers yesterday. They faced the Miz in the opener and dropped that one. Got off to a good start. Jordan Walker with a homer in the first. They jump on him early, but the Brewers go on to win 4-3. They out-hit the Cardinals 10-5 in that opener. It was a bullpen game with a rent-a-pitcher basically doing the bulk of the work for the Cardinals in that opener. Bruce Zimmerman. I thought maybe it was Bob Zimmerman and he'd come out of retirement there in St. Louis, but a different Zimmerman.
Maybe it is. Maybe he changed his name.
And you said you thought he got picked up and let go.
He was signed about a day or two before this game, and it obviously, in my opinion, had to be this is the understanding. We're going to sign you, come up here, you're going to pitch this game, pitch it probably in relief. We'll start a bullpen guy. And then we're going to release you after that, because right after the game, he got his, designated for reassignment or something like that. Yeah. He had to know it ahead of time.
He was back saying, "Get your cold beer here." Walking down, he was a Matt Gifford employee. I think they pulled out of the stands to help relieve that.
Did you mention the strikeouts at Mizorowski?
Yeah, 11 Ks for the Miz, walked none. It's hard to find a better pitcher in baseball right now than what this kid is doing. I mean, Cam Schlittler of the Yankees is having an AL Cy Young worthy season over there. Of course, Scooble's still good. Christopher Sanchez was good until he rolled into Kansas City. A lot of guys there. One of the guys right now that you're kind of scratching your head, Paul Skeens, has become very pedestrian here in the last month or so. His ERA is over 5. And
his velocity is down a little bit.
Yeah, and so you wonder if there's something going on with him. But Brewers win the opener 4-3. Then in the nightcap, it's a 10-2 Milwaukee victory. Close game in that one until the Brewers broke it open in the 7th, I believe. It was 3-3 in the 6th. I'm sorry, wrong game. I'm getting my doubleheader games. 7-run 7th inning.
7-run 7th inning.
For Milwaukee. Cardinals kind of kicked it around a little bit. The pitching was not very good. Our boy Ryan Stanek, I think, was part of that one.
He was the losing pitcher, as a matter of fact. And here's one of the keys, too. In these first 3 games of the series the seventh inning has been the house of horrors for the Cardinals. The Brewers have won them all or scored their big runs in the seventh.
Their best pitcher in that second game was Brian Torres, the outfielder. Came in and he was throwing a 42-mile-an-hour eephus pitch that had the Brewer. And, the Cardinal announcers were like, hey, maybe we ought to do this more often, back off the velocity and bring a guy in like this, because I saw the eighth and he went, pretty much 1, 2, 3. Actually, Weatherholt committed an error. It would have been a 1, 2, 3 inning, but Cardinals dropped 2. Robert Gasser was good for the Brewers in the nightcap. Gave them 7 strong innings there. The thing about the Brewers, they're not going away anytime soon in the next 5 to 7 years, because they have the best minor league system in baseball with prospects. I mean, they're just loaded. They called up one of those guys yesterday, Luis Lara. Came up. He's a little guy with speed. He's a contact hitter. They plugged him in game 2 in I think the number 2 hole in the order, and he responded with like a 2-run single in the second inning to get him going. But they go, we had Max Gifford on that's calling for their Biloxi Double-A team. They've got 4 guys down there right now that'll all be in Milwaukee if there's room for them. So, and I don't know how they do it or what they do, but the Brewers develop pitching as good or better than anybody in Major League Baseball right now. And it's guys that you probably haven't heard of. I mean, when Mizorowski came up, he was just a guy who threw hard, and they've figured out how to, when he came up and in his minor league career, you might see 11 Ks and 5 walks. Well, now they've figured out how to tame the wildness there, and a guy throwing 105 is around the strike zone, and that's pretty scary. But they're very good at what they do.
And they have one of their best pitchers who's probably out for the year in Woodruff.
Yeah,
he hasn't been able to come back.
I think he's done.
He may be.
Yeah, his shoulder, his elbow, whatever it is, the velocity's way down. They had to put him back on the IL. You're going to see another really good one tonight in Kyle Harrison. That I thought was going to pitch the second game last night, but they saved him for today. But yeah, this is a Milwaukee team that they're hunting down the Dodgers for the best record in baseball. They're 58-33 now. The Dodgers are 60-33. Just get used to it because they're going to be around for a while. Cardinals fall to 47-43. They're 10.5 games back now in the Central. They're still in the hunt in the wild card, a couple games out there. But we're starting to see what Bob Nightingale talked about, that they won a lot of close games early, and those things tend to even out over the course of the season.
They do. And your pitching staff and the way they operate, the pitching staff in St. Louis, Marmol is very reluctant to have a pitcher go all the way, and your bullpen's beginning to show signs of fatigue now.
They're going to have to bring up Joshua Baez at some point in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Certainly think so.
Yeah, that offense needs a little bit of a boost. The guy has 28 home runs at Memphis, which leads the minor leagues. And yes, he's a strikeout machine, but when he hits it go far and it go hard. And it's a guy that I think if they bring him up, shortly before the trade deadline, he's a guy that would be like a trade deadline acquisition almost, and maybe give them a little spark. Where do you play him? You probably stick him out in center field and say
center field seems to be the optimum situation. What's I haven't checked on Victor Scott. Has he done nothing in Memphis? He's
hit right around 195, 200, just not getting it done. And the problem with him was not only was he not hitting, he wasn't running when he was on base, and so that if he's not running, he doesn't have much value to that major league team.
I would think that if the Cardinals do any dealing, and this 5-game series with Milwaukee is, I think, very much a strong point in what Chaim Bloom does, I would think that Scott would be in a trading block.
Yeah, it's going to be somebody that just needs him as a pinch runner, basically. Because he can't do anything
Washington.
else. Yeah. A couple other baseball notes. I know we got a guest coming up at 7:30, but the Royals, I don't know what's going on with them, what they're drinking these days, but it's working, and they need to keep doing it because they go in and just blast the Mets 16-12. They set a club record for most hits in consecutive games, 41 hits in the last 2 games for Kansas City, and you cannot ever think you're going to stop Tyler Tolbert these days.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Basically,
you talked about him yesterday when he went 5 for 5. He was 5 for 6 last night.
Yeah, he gets 5 more hits.
12 in a row, folks. That ties a major league record, 12 for 12.
and flew out in his chance to set the record at 13. Kind of a weak fly to right field, and you could see him. He's like, God, if I just got more bat on ball there. But Tyler Tolbert is a 27-year-old, pretty much a quad A type player, as they call him. Has been a guy that's been good enough for being a bench role, utility role for the Royals. A pretty good AAA type player and stuff, but man, he's on a roll right now.
On his record, I must admit, I don't remember him playing with Northwest Arkansas back when I was doing the TV. I don't remember the name at all, but I'm sure he had to have spent some time there. Does it look like he did?
I think so. We can go back, and Art will know when he comes on at 8 more about Tyler Tolbert. But his last 3 hits were infield hits, which is hard to do. He's got some speed. And then it helped make up for Seth Lugo being awful. He was tagged for 9 runs, 6 earned as a starter. KC was behind 5-2 and 9-4 in this one. And if you think the Royals have had problems, the team in the other dugout, the Mets, they've had a nightmare season. That they spent all that money in the offseason. They watched some guys leave. They lost Pete Alonso to the Orioles, and Edwin Diaz went to the Dodgers. They thought they regrouped and reloaded, and it's not working.
Can you imagine the New York media?
Oh, they're being kind to him, I'm sure, aren't they?
I'm sorry?
They're being kind to them.
And gentle, very gentle. And the worst part about it, or the most painful part about it for the New York Mets, is their owner, Mr. Cohen, who is the wealthiest, and this is a singular circumstance, wealthiest owner in Major League Baseball at, $21 billion or something like that. Think about that. The wealthiest owner, and he has a team that has really gone down the tubes.
The bizarre part, we talked about the outburst against the Phillies on Monday. Carter Jensen didn't even play. Yesterday, everybody but Jack Caglione had an RBI. So your big guns aren't the ones doing it. It's up and down the order with everybody else. And one bit of good news for the Royals as well. Vinny P is on his rehab assignment. Started yesterday. He should be back after the All-Star break. Tonight it's Steven Cruz versus Christian Scott in Game 2 of that series. One Cardinals note to add, Riley O'Brien added to the National League All-Star roster. He is tied for the National League with 22 saves, tied with Mason Miller in that. Some of the guys that have had to bow out due to starting on Sunday or injury, Paul Skeens, The Miz, and Max Meyer, they all pitch on Sunday. They had to be replaced. Braxton Ashcraft, who's had a really good year for Pittsburgh and actually has outpitched Skeens and Jesus Luzardo, are the other 2 pitchers announced yesterday for joining the roster there. A couple other baseball notes. Ryan O'Hearn of the Pirates, 3 homers and 10 ribbies in a Pittsburgh 12-4 win over the Braves.
10 RBIs.
10 RBIs. And Shohei Ohtani, the 5th fastest player to 300 homers last night in a Dodgers 4-3 loss at home to the Rockies. First Japanese-born player in the majors to reach the 300 home run milestone.
And his one last night was in the first inning.
Yeah, lead off, and it took him 1,102 games between playing for the Angels and the Dodgers. And Aaron Judge was the quickest at 955 games there. And one other note, Connor Griffin out 8 to 10 weeks for the Pirates with an injury to his ring finger. Springfield Cardinals, they dropped Game 1 in their series at Tulsa 4-3 on a walk-off by the Drillers tonight. Game 2 of 6 tonight. That is a battle of the first, and now they're tied for the lead in the second half of the Texas League North division there. The Tulsa Drillers were the first half winner. Before we go to break, Wimbledon, Coco Gauff advances.
Coco Gauff was defeated Jessica Pegula, battle of American player. In fact, a battle of their doubles partners. And Gauff wins this one. Muchova wins her match. But the big one of the day, the top ranking male players won. But the big match was Felix Auger-Aliassime of Canada against Djokovic. And my God, I watched it was a 5-hour match. I didn't see all 5 hours of it, but a 5-hour match that went to the 5th set and went to the final point, which turned out to be a tiebreaker, and Djokovic wins the tiebreaker 10-8 after 5 hours. The guy is 39 years old, 5 hours against a young kid from Canada who is a tremendous player, and the serve is over 130 miles an hour. Let's hear it for the old guys. Djokovic wins that thing.
Absolutely. Let's take a timeout, come back with our first guest.
And the timeout on the starting lineup, Back in a second. And this is the starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Marshfield Chevrolet, and by Citizens Bank of Rogersville. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Purrier. And we have a special guest. He is a new coach to town. We welcome in Samuel Winning. He's the new head men's soccer coach at Evangel University. Coach, good morning.
Good morning. It's amazing to speak to you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And we did confirm that your actual given name at birth, last name is Winning, which is a great name to have in the coaching industry. It's much better than losing, right?
Yeah. Hopefully it's a good omen for this season. That's what we're hoping for as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go into coaching if that's your name, or at least play as long as you can. So, but
or you're playing the stock market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or life.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're winning at life, that's a good thing too. But Samuel, we welcome you to town and kind of talk about what was it about the Evangel job that was so appealing to you to want to take this position.
Yeah, I think coming into a program which has had, some success, it's got the tools to be even more successful. I think that's definitely appealing, and for me to go into a place where it's, obviously faith-based, I think is good for me as well, and my family, having a young family as well. And I would say another big factor as well is moving into a city which is like Springfield, which is good, like a big city, compared to other places I've been, some big and then some small. So I think it's kind of a total package when you look for somewhere where you want to be for the future and hopefully make stuff better than it is just now.
Coach, is softball a very big deal in Scotland?
No, it's not.
How did you happen to delve your coaching interests along those lines?
You said softball or soccer?
I said softball.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it's soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
I apologize. Boy, I'll tell you guys, I've got to have my hearing checked out. This is all. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's soccer.
Accent doesn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, from Dundee, Scotland, the accent is not fake. We had Ben Taylor on Monday, and you two talked actually yesterday because your first match ever on the sidelines with the Valor is an exhibition against Drury. That's the battle for Scotland, isn't it, between you two?
Yeah. Let's see who wins that one. But yeah, Coach Ben's a super nice guy. We spoke yesterday, and he was just welcoming me into the new opportunity and everything like that. So that will be an interesting one. I would definitely show up to that game. Hopefully we both have teams which are better than the performance Scotland put out of the World Cup this summer. And that's what we're both hoping for. So that's the objective. What
were your impressions of the Tartan army that was doing the part marching during the Scottish?
Yeah.
Pretty good deal.
I would say our fans were much better than the soccer we put on the field. That's one of my biggest takeaways. I think our fans, anywhere we go, if there's any game, we'll bring 100,000 people. People won't even go inside the stadium. They'll just go there to be supporting in the city where the game is. I just hope that translated into our performances, which it didn't that much. But our fans are amazing, and they always will be.
Well, you're a young guy. I think you finished your playing career in 2019 at Florida Southern, I believe, and have had several different coaching jobs since then. Kind of take us to your path after. Well, first of all, how did you arrive at America and start playing American college soccer?
Yeah, so back home in Scotland, obviously soccer is the biggest sport. There's individual sports like tennis, golf, and stuff like that, but everybody. When you're a kid, you start playing football, soccer. You start playing that straight away, So I played when I was young. I was in a youth academy, a professional youth academy when I was there. And then, I wasn't going to get the step up to the first team. So then I was like, okay, what's the options to go to the US? And the year before, I got a good opportunity to try out one of these agencies and get an opportunity. And then, God willing, everything worked out. And basically, I got a couple of offers to go to the US, and ever since then, I've been in the US ever since. And I think I was in 2015, so it's been a long time now. So yeah, I went straight into playing, And then after that, I went straight into coaching as
And
well.
you started your college playing career at Union. Is that the Tennessee version, or which Union school is that?
That's the Kentucky version.
Kentucky version. Okay,
That's in Kentucky, yeah.
and then finished at Florida Southern. Had a great
Yeah,
career. What about the coaching aspect? How did you get started in coaching? Where were your first stops?
yeah. So actually, I spent a year after I graduated and volunteered as a goalkeeper coach at Florida Southern. So that's when I first started. And then after that, I got a graduate assistant job, which is they pay for your master's and you coach for 2 years at the University of Jamestown in North Dakota. So a bit different from Florida Southern, it's a bit far away. So yeah, that was just during COVID. So that was the summer of 2020. So that was a great opportunity. And then I spent a year, 2 seasons there. And then in the second half of my second year, I got the opportunity to be a head coach at Presentation College. I'm not sure if you have heard of that in South Dakota. It's a small NAIA school, and it shut down after a year after that. But during that time as well, I also got the opportunity to be a head coach at Dakota Fusion FC, which is an NPSL team, which is kind of a semi-professional league, the fourth division. So during that, I was the head coach there for 3 seasons, for 2021, 2022, and 2023. So yeah, during that time, it's been busy. And then after Presentation College in South Dakota, I went to Felician University in New Jersey. So again, a big change. So I went there in 2022, and I was there for 3.5 years until 2025, which is when I ended up at Murray State. And I would say at Felician University in our last year, we made the Elite Eight of the Division Two national tournament. We got beaten overtime, unfortunately, so we were close to the Final Four. And then this year at Murray State, we obviously had decent success as well.
And that's
So yeah,
the Murray State Community College, JUCO, not the Murray State in Kentucky that some people want. But from the JUCO soccer standpoint, it's always fascinating to look at roster makeup at all levels. And I'm looking at your Evangel roster that you're inheriting, and you got a goalkeeper from Ava, and you got several kids international. At the JUCO level, is it pretty heavy international, or is it more of an American-based roster?
Yeah, I would say it's more international. Honestly, in our situation last year, I think we were probably about 85% international.
Wow.
And 15% domestic, where, I'm sure, if the Division Ones and at Evangel as well, we have a lot more Americans than we did at Murray State. At Murray State College, we had, for spring season, we had none. It was just international guys for the spring semester. Yeah, it's definitely unique. I think maybe location has a part of that as well, because we were in a small town in southern Oklahoma. We had good facilities, but it was small. So I think for internationals, we're more willing to take a chance and, have an opportunity to perform and then go off to a Division One. Hopefully, that's the idea.
Coach, what is the process for recruiting international players?
Yeah, it's a process which comes in so many ways. So obviously everybody has agency contacts. So guys you meet over the years, recruiting agencies in Italy, Spain, Japan, England, Ghana. We've had a couple of Ghanaian guys as well. You've got guys from basically every country you can imagine. And the way it works is it's basically all on WhatsApp. I'll speak to an agent. I say, I need a center back, a striker, a goalkeeper who fit these certain criterias. Do you have anybody who could fit that? And then you basically go from there. They give you the contacts. You watch over the game film. You watch the video as well. I would say with the international guys, there's obviously more of a risk factor, because you're watching their video on WhatsApp or on YouTube. You're not seeing them in person with domestic guys, which is obviously what you want to do more. So yeah, it's a unique process. I'm sure you could ask any coach, who does men's or women's soccer. I'm sure they could tell you their WhatsApp messages are filled just with all these guys who want to come in are prospective guys. It's definitely a unique situation. It's a lot different than maybe basketball or American football, where the best players are here in the US. The US has got some great domestic players, but the best guys usually go to division schools, usually. So then you have to cast your net.
Your first head-to-head meeting with these individuals is when they are here. You don't see them beforehand.
Exactly.
Oh my.
Yeah, face to face. If we're talking face to face,
Yes.
usually what I like to do is we have a video call. We do multiple calls as well. But yeah, you're taking a chance because you're watching video, and you speak to agencies, you speak to people who know the standard, and obviously the standard of the country he's playing in as well, which helps. But it's more of a chance for sure.
Well, and I'm sure the video, Zoom and all those new tactics and tools we have at our disposal are a big help, because before, if it was a phone call, a kid could say he was 6'2" and 180 and he was actually 5'8" and 350. And you couldn't see it on a camera and know that you were getting duped. But it's an odd time to be inheriting or taking a new job in late June. Recruiting wise, your roster was pretty much probably already locked and set, wasn't it, for this fall? Is this now you're in the process of getting to know your Valor players, and what have you seen so far in terms of just the guys you've been able to see and meet?
Yeah, so I've met a couple of the guys the last couple of days, and our roster's basically done. But we are there'll probably be a couple more guys who we add into the picture for the fall. Probably two or three guys who we could add at this late stage, if God willing, if everything works out. Yeah, but I would say my biggest impression from the guys we have just now is they want to work. They want to be pushed, which is amazing for a coach. You come into an environment where you've got guys who want to work to their full potential and get challenged. I think that's an amazing place to be. And I think from my conversations with the guys, that's what they want. Kind of more than anything, is to have 100% maximization of what we can do this fall. And I think the guys are excited about doing that.
I think we know the answer to this, but I want to hear it from you. Why are international players so much better than USA born? Is it the emphasis and importance that soccer's year round in these other countries? Is that it? Because I look at the Evangel roster you're inheriting, and there's Brazil, there's Germany, there's Argentina. All the companies we're seeing left in the World Cup, Evangel's got players from those rosters.
Yeah. I would say, honestly, if you take the top US-born players and the top international players, I would say they're going to be similar nowadays, because that gap's not as big. But obviously, internationally, you've just got so many more players, who play. Because imagine this, if everybody who was born in the United States, instead of playing basketball, baseball, American football, as soon as they were born, if they got pushed into playing soccer, that's kind of what it's like in every single other country. In Brazil, they start playing when they're basically as soon as they can try and kick, they give them a football. It's the same thing in the UK. Every single guy plays that sport to start with, so you just have more of a base. I would say that's the biggest difference, whereas the US now, it's got to a good place where you have all of these youth academies, you've got the development's getting better. I just think, it's playing a catch-up game, because the other international countries have had this for 40, 30 years, so they've got more depth of talent. But I would say the US talent's good. If you look at some of those top academies, some of those players are the same standard easily. There's just not as many of them, which is hopefully going to change with, this World Cup and the development which the US is showing, just to get more people involved and more people playing the game. I think that's the biggest factor.
Coach, with your international recruits, of course, soccer is the common factor, but the culture is not. How long does it usually take individuals to adjust themselves?
Yeah, that's something we call adaptation time. Honestly, I've seen guys come in here, they adapt within 2 days, and they're fine. If you're from South America, where the heat in the summer is not that much of an issue. You can adapt quicker. Whereas in the other case, I've had a couple of English guys at previous schools who they take over 1 month to adapt, 2 months to adapt because the heat's so bad, the humidity's bad. It struggles, and it's a case by case situation. Every guy has a different adaptation time, and we're just there to try and make sure that adaptation time's as short as possible.
How long did it take you to adapt to Jamestown, North Dakota?
Yeah, I never really did, honestly. You go to Jamestown in the winter, you might not survive. Honestly, it's that cold. It gets to almost minus Fahrenheit, which is craziness. But the summers are nice.
Well, and those guys that arrived in population 3,000, Tishomingo, Oklahoma, from overseas, they had a little shock probably awaiting them as well, too, there. But, well, Samuel, tell us your thoughts on the World Cup. We're down to the final 8. In your eyes, who wins the whole thing?
Oh, that's a tough question. I would say we've seen so many weird games and crazy games, where teams you would expect to win are gone, like Germany. People thought they were going to go further. Portugal, obviously, as well. They played against Spain. I would say who I fancy to win it now, I would still have to say, I think Spain. I just think defensively they're a good team. I think they've got all the tools. Whereas France has obviously got more of an attacking team as well, but defensively, can they do it? And I hate to say it, but I think England, they have a good chance, honestly, for performance in Mexico. I think they could maybe go to the final. But, yeah, I would say it's between those 3 teams, and obviously you have Argentina as well, but, I don't think it's their time this year.
Very good. Well, we wish you the best at Evangel, and welcome to Springfield, and we'll catch up with you this fall, okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate having me on, and have a good morning.
Yeah, keep on winning, Samuel. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, good deal. We'll talk to you soon.
Evangel soccer coach Samuel Winning with us. Take a time out on the starting lineup. Be right back. What do we have coming up in the next segment?
Well, coming up at 8 o'clock, Terry Allen, the former Missouri State football coach in Northern Iowa, University of Kansas, will be joining us to talk about his career and his thoughts on today's game. Terry Allen at 8 o'clock, and then 8:30, Jeff Sayers going to check in with us from Play It Again Sports, tell us about the great sales they've got going on over there. Was looking at one of the things, CBS Sports has a top 25 most likely candidates to be traded at the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. The Royals have Lane Thomas listed in there as a utility outfielder for somebody, and then the Cardinals have 2 players listed in that top 25, Lars Nootbaar and Dustin May.
Yeah, I understand both of them.
Yeah.
Especially in May's case, he's a free agent.
Well, and in Nootbaar's case, they need to clear room for Baez to come up and play, and they've got kind of a glut of guys that, outside of Jordan Walker are not, earth-shattering talents out there, but they need to make some space for Baez to get his chance. But number 1 and number 2 on the list, Tariq Skubal and Casey Mize of the Tigers.
So in the next couple of days or maybe weeks, we'll see perhaps some activity on that.
Absolutely.
On that line.
Yep, we need to take our break. Yep.
All right, mid-show timeout. This is the mid-show timeout on the starting lineup. After a brief break, we're back with the second segment. Please, folks, stay right where you are.